tutorial. I'm just doing some regular trees. Right now, what I'm doing, instead of some spookier looking trees like I've done in the past, I'm just doing some more straight up trees. I plan on trying to give eventually more of a winter fall feel without going too spooky. So, and what I've got here for my material, and if I can get some of my wire, is I've got a whole bunch of wire, but I cut one length, and I just lost, oh no, didn't lose my piece. I cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires, all one size. Then I cut a whole bunch of smaller pieces here, so different sizes, and they're not all the same size. I'm going to be mixing them in. So, and I already did with one of the longer ones. Oh no, I didn't. I did that on my other tree already. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut your wire. And what you need here is you need wire. So you need some floral tape. Unfortunately, I got some really shitty floral tape from the dollar store that doesn't stick as well as it should. So I've had to use a little hot glue because it was just crappy. You want to use crazy glue over hot glue, but I don't have any, and I have some foam for bases. So that's pretty much all I'm going to be using. So, and I've got this one a bit differently down because I really didn't pay attention to where I was on my branches. And when I was doing my little additions on, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, because I lost some wire, so I might need to use the little bit I have left. So what I did is I twisted the bottom up here. I've already got a base. All I did is I took the 3 wires, twisted a little bit. You can twist it really good and tight. I didn't, so because we're going to be covering it with floral tape. So if I'm doing trees where I'm using dry clay, so air dry clay, I go a little more, what's the word I'm looking for, tighter, because I want my branches being as secure and tight as I can. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take one of these little wires, and I'm going to just try and make it a little bit straighter for now. I'm not too concerned. And I twisted a little bit just up here on the top after I twisted the bottom. And what I'm going to do, because trees don't all have the same branches and lengths, so I'm going to just scoot this through a little bit of a twist here. They don't all have the same branches and lengths of branches. So what I'm doing is I like to try to get a hold of my stuff with a pair of pliers. So it just gives me a firmer hold, and this does not want to catch on, so we're going to try getting this in here. Bit different. Oh, come on. The reason I'm trying to get this in here, once I get my little strand, is I'm going to pull some of these wires around it and try to twist my small branch without getting it all tangled in here around some of these. Don't worry if your twists aren't tight on these ones, because you are going to be covering a lot of it with, well, not a lot of it, all of it with floral tape. So I'm just going to give one more behind, because that's where I started. So as you can see, this is the wire I added in. So I just put it into the back and twisted some of the things around. If you get some extra wire coming off like this, don't worry about it too much. So you can always take your finger, one, and give it a good twist around yourself. There we go. Now that's nice and firm. So next thing I'm going to do is I got a smaller wire I intentionally cut. Some of these wires I did smaller than others as I was looping them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same process as I did with this one I'm going to try to get the smaller wire in the middle, even though this wire is a part of the branch, of the tree trunk root. I still want to get it into the middle because it's going to make a stem. And I do mine a little more difficult than some other people. They do. There's a little more sticking these wires in and using thicker gauge and keep the wires in and out. I'm using what I have because right now my budget's pretty low. And some of these, I'm keeping all these short wires mainly to start building off the branch, the body of the branch. So, and I'm going to bring this wire here, actually, because I want to build up my body of my tree, the main body more, before I branch off on it. Okay, so that should be nice. So I got a nice stem, nice stem coming out. I got a bit more coming, and now I'm going to split off, and here's my 3 I was working with. I'm still twisted right in here where I twisted. And now I'm going to take my small branch and one of these nice long ones and twist it off into a new direction. Why I get a little more complicated than some of these people do is I could use this extra wire, snip it off, and attach it in places. Oh, buzz ball from my cat. I don't really like doing that, so what I do is I bend it, because I've already got the wire, so why not? I've got the wire. If I can get this where I want, usually I have smaller pliers, but I can't find them. I always make a loop just because I find if you hold on the back and make your first initial twist while pulling on it, you get a nice tight, and I like having nice tight on my branches starting off. Just a habit of mine. And if you get one of these, you know, you see where this is right here, just clamp it down. So next loop you come over, you can try to get that caught in the next loop. So if I do, or if you do, so I'm going to make this branch a bit longer. And this is about as far as I want this loop, the one right here. And what I can do now is I can either make 2 splits or I can make 1 split. And I think we're going to do 1 split. So I'm going to take my wire cutters. I'm going to try to make this pinched out a bit more so I can get it as center as I can. I'm going to make a snip. I'm going to only put 1 more branch on here, so I'm going to actually snip this wire off, and I can keep this small one to add in for another off branch for one of these longer shoots I haven't used yet. So I'm going to just leave this branch here. I don't want to loop it. I've got the one we're working on, those 3 that we're working on. This is harder to see because of the camera. So this one we just had, I'm going to re-pinch it because I want 1 more branch coming out from here. So I'm just going to take my wire, try to get it pinched against the other, and then sneak my pliers in here, and I didn't catch it because it's broke. So there we go. And then I'm just going to twist my branch up, going off the opposite direction. You see how I have this little loop here? All I do is I put it inside my pliers and I clamp it down. See how that loop goes completely straight now? And don't worry about this little wire here. 1, you just pinch it in. 2, you can, I'm doing this in a lot darker location I do, so I can try to get this video, because every area I go in this place seems to give me horrible light glow in the back. So there we go. And I can pinch that one. Then I can take this one longer loop. I have 2 options. I can either loop it in for a shorter branch and have it 2 going off, or I can just snip it for a shorter branch. I don't like to really waste the wire, so, and I just find looping gives a little more stability even once it's taped. So when you pick it up, you're not worried about branches bending and as much, or breaking due to if you're using lower gauge wire like I am. And that's just, I suggest a bit thicker gauge than this. I'm using the what gauge, 22 gauge, 190 foot. And I just picked this up from Walmart about 4 years ago, and I've thrown off, what, in the last few days I've made 6 spooky trees like this with the wire, and I've made 6 or 7 trees with clay, and I use a lot more wire when I do my clay because I like to have a lot fuller tree. So, and I've got my other tree glued down right now to my base behind me. So see how I just clamp that down here? So it gives it a nice little spookier, Christmassier fall look if you want. So now or you can make this easier where your branch is split. I just want to get mine going up a bit more straighter into the air. And because I'm doing that, I'm moving some of this wire around. Chances are, don't even worry about this. I'm just a little OCD because a lot of this is just going to end up shifting on you again as you're churning wires and getting wires rearranged. So I'm taking my next 3 strands already. I'm going to start giving them a loop in here, get this part going. I'm not going to give it too much of a go. I'm going to branch it off as if it's going to come out shooting that way. Give a bit more. So like I said, I like to bend my branches up a lot. Double loop, double branch. And then it gives me a lot more to work with without having to add in some smaller pieces here and there that I do have. I use those pieces for areas I think needs to make the tree look fuller as I'm building up, or go back and move some areas in. I know some people, as soon as they get this first area done, they'll actually do their first layer of tape on their floral tape. I'm not that type of guy because I like to try to add here and there if I can to make it look a little more complete. Because you see how I have these long loops still right here, this long loop, and if you look, where's my base? I'm coming out on this branch right here, so you don't really want your branch going to be this long. This is where it gives me options now that I can pinch my wire a bit more, take my snips, and I think I have one of my videos here finally done editing. So now playing. Okay, so you see I got this loop here cut. Use my shirt. See how I have this loop right here cut now off this small little branch. This is why I said don't worry about really sculpting where you want trees yet, because you're going to end up moving load of stuff around, and oops, my language. So loop again, pliers again, clamp, and turn. See, like I said, you're going to catch other wires as you're doing this. I usually have a bigger pair, smaller pair, and that way I can work with what I want. Okay, as I'm coming up this tree, remember, you do not want, if someone is messaging me, bad part of using your phone for doing videos. Okay, you don't want this branch coming out too far. So I got 2 options here. One, I can snip right there, or I can, well, actually I got 3 options looking on here, but I'm only going to take one of 2 options. You have 3 options. This depends on your preference. Okay, see how I have those little loops? I know some people that just snip all these loops off. I don't. I take my pliers, they're more than just good for twisting, and I just clamp down and straighten them back out again. So you can have one that just branches out and snip. You have one branches out with 2 more branches, or you can do as I'm going to do, and I'm going to take this top one here and snip it, because I don't want that. Where? I just want the one branch coming off here. I'm going to loop this second wire around. See, I don't do mine the same as everyone else, and it might take a bit longer. It might be a little hastier in the prettiness of how it comes out looking, you know, during the post-production of what you're doing. But as it comes along, it always turns out looking nice and good at the end finish. Hasty as I am, it always looks good. Or at least I find it looks good, and I've sold a few due to people liking the look I get and I achieve, the more dirty, rusticy. Alright, so I'm just going to try to come up here. I see some wires that can be clamped tighter. Like I said, don't worry about. Okay, see how I got those 2 now pinched? I can now bring them out. And now I've got 3 more wires to go, so I want to try to make my tree going into different areas and not just all one direction. So look at which direction your tree needs to go and plan on going that way for your next set of wires. So I've already got my, if this goes where I'm going to actually have it in a second. So I got one on this side. I'm now coming out on this side of the branch. I've shot out this way. And I'm now coming out this back way, because I don't want this to all be empty and not full. And where this one little branch is, same. So I got this long wire going to be able to come in and double up and cover that area right there. So there's always a method to my madness of being hasty and sloppy. A lot of people are like me when I was married. You don't have time to, you know, dedicate to this anymore. So if I wanted to do it, then I had to be quick and on the go, getting it done. Otherwise, my then wife would be on my ass, rightfully so. Dr. Zeus, I guess. Oh, I lost that little loop I wanted. That should be a good enough pinch. Turn, get that pulled out straight as you can, and start doing your turning. This is your best friend for turning. That loop makes it so much easier to turn. Okay, and once again, be mindful of how long your branches are, because when I first started doing this, I wasn't really paying attention. I have one branch coming straight out here before it split out, and that in scale was nowhere close. So pay attention to what you're doing here on your, see, because this is more realistic, isn't it? When you have this one long branch right here shooting out, that next branch shouldn't be that long, and same with this when I'm going to loop it and turn it before I break it off into more. Once again, I don't have to add in right now. I got these pre-cut, and I will add some more of these in, trust me, because I'm going to want probably one more somewhere around here, and this is where I'm going to have to try to work it in. And this is why it's good to not always crumple your wires, because I can pinch openings in here and try to slide some of this wire through the cracks in the back. But this is where I talk about going back over and seeing where I need to fill in on my tree. Okay, so next snip, I want to loop in. I'm probably going to go 2 branches here, and that's it. I'm not going to go any more elaborate. This one I'm trying to keep a little more simple. Especially since I have really crappy tape to work with right now for floral tape. And I'm not going to worry about this one loop right here, because I'm going to actually probably snip it off once I get around to do my floral tape and cut it off right below the loop, because then that tree is going to get really too long. So I don't want to gain too long. Okay, so let's get one more loop here, and I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to end up snipping this loop down once I get it all looped up, so I won't bother clamping the loop into a tight. It's not easy doing this part when you don't have the greatest lighting behind you, because the wire is hard to see. I won't lie, it's hard to see when you're doing this in poor lighting. Oh, no, 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 don't you even start. Here comes my cat who loves to jump on my lap. And there she comes. Yeah, you're going to get your tail caught in this, and there's hot glue around. Got two, and this one is such a suck. Hey, go. There you go. And I need to... Okay, so here we are, back on our tree. So these two are looped intentionally because I do not plan on keeping going any further than that. So I'm going to just pinch that last wire in to try to... Because this tree is going to mainly be more straighter than it is not. See, we're down to 2 wires left. And sorry, where is my comb here that I have? I have a beard brush and I don't know where I threw it, trying to hide things on my table. She is going through her seasonal shedding, and I'm like Velcro. Okay, one more branch on this side, and then we'll work this last branch. Oh, this darn... I have 2 cats, both shed, and both in completely different ways, and it's annoying. I've been tempted to shave just because of cats. Okay, I don't want my tree going any higher than this, any more branches. This is it. So I'm probably going to give a few more loops just to give myself extra room to cut off. Where I'm going here. Oh, I didn't want to lose that piece, because like I said, I'm cheap and I don't like not using up what I can use. So see how I have this loop and it's still a little bit looped? We can just quickly undo that, open that up, take our pliers, see where we have the little crook. That could be good for hooking in too. I've seen people do loops and hooks, but I will just try to straighten it out the best I can. There we go. And now this is perfect to use for another branch. If need be. I might do a few shrubs here because I don't think I'm going to be adding much to this. Alright, I'm going on my last loop now. Hooray! Oh, this loop's got a really bad crook in it, which does not make it good for what we're about to do. So, straighten out. Find my connecting point. Rest it on there. See how I got that little twist going? I just want a small little branch coming off of here. I want to just fill in where this other little small branch is. So I'm going to probably give it a few more twists just to get it a bit tighter. Pull my wire out. Loop. Not going too much further out, so I'm only going to probably end up doing one loop here. I'm still debating as I'm looking at this. See, we're probably going to add in 2 wires to come off, one up here, shooting up here, and one shooting. Just give it a little more depth in that. So, I actually might only be doing one more wire right in here. And we'll snip the other one off and use it for another piece. Oh, Michael Myers music. This might get me censored on this video. This is supposed to be copyright music, or copyright free music. Okay, so I'm just going to go stop right here on that branch. Actually, you know what? I want a second. I'm going to bring that off into a different direction. One more in the fill in that bottom. Okay. Once again, this is why I say don't worry about actually getting your tree not sculpted or molded, but you know, positioned in the branches. Positioned. I know the word. I just can't find it. See, I got 4 loops here. This is pretty much, I'm not going to be using them. This is where the branches are going to end. So this just makes it a little easier for me when I'm doing some of the taping around with crappy tape. A little more copy. Alright, I want to find 2 small, 1 longer, just to make it easier to loop in. And this is where I'm talking about, you know, where it's good to leave areas in between, unlike doing your other trees, when you're used to doing other trees, because I want my branch coming in behind over on here and shooting out. So this allows me to have more than enough length, get in there, get a good grip, and if I can find the end of this now, come on, there we go. I can just start loosely. I don't have to go tight. Well, tight enough that it's going to hold, but I don't need to go super tight. Just see, look already. Just, I haven't even looped this up and around where I wanted this part yet to secure it in. So I'm going to go with my trusty, just because it makes it easier, and I've already got 1 blister on the bottom. That top one is hot glue, but that's a blister from turning trees after not doing this for a while. I used to do this by hand, but the grip on the wiring is blistering my finger after years of not, and it's been years since I've done a few of these trees. I want this one smaller, so I'm gonna try to bring my loop in tighter here, so I can use up more, get more room to bring my branch around. See, this is why this is good, because it gives you a nice, good, firm. Just kind of get this formed, that's the word I was looking for, a bit more formed how I wanted it, just so you can see this piece So this is the piece we added in. And don't worry, this is all going to look good once we get our floral tape on. So I see I got a bit of that hold up. We don't want that pokies. Pokies are bad because pokies will rip your tape as you're going through, and you'll have to double to triple in some areas and give it a thicker, bulkier look than what you actually really want to give it. So not good. So I got one branch added in, and I think I want one more coming out this way. So I want to find a nice big longer wire. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to see if I can find, there we go. Thread it through the needle. This last one I clamped it down a little too hard around. Okay, there I go. We got it wired through. I'm not sure if there we go. We got wired through. I'm going to once again, this is way too long for, that's exactly, I was going to say way too long on the top, way too short on the bottom to be able to try to twist in. Okay, so I want to twist my bottom and get this bottom part I find is the most important when you're adding the branches like this, because this is what gives you the first firm foundation, and then this makes it easier for you to take this branch we're about to add in and then twist it around to where we want it. So once again, I'm going back to my steel pliers, find the tree I want, which direction I started, and I like to go different directions as I'm adding these in for one purpose and one purpose only. When you do the tape, I find it helps give you more of a knotted look. I like doing mine like this because I like it looking like it's getting a knotty, gnarled bark. And I would generally use a green, or not a green floral tape for this, but a brown floral tape, but I happen to be out of brown floral tape. So see how I've added in the branches, and you can do a few more. I might even add in one more down here on the bottom with a smaller, and just give it a small little outcrop branch, like if it's broken or something. And I think I can see one more good area I can slide this through without, come on, maybe not. I might need to take, because I've got a looped wire I can't see running perpendicular. There we go. Once again, got it through. I want to be careful. I just want a short branch coming out. See how I got that split V right here? So I want a branch just coming out roughly right here, but not as long. So what we're going to do is we're going to poke this. And be careful if you're using a thinner gauge wire, because the more you work this wire and heat, it gets hot from being handled, the easier it is to snap it. Most people I know usually use a higher gauge wire than this. You don't have to. I never have. I've done these type of trees just for some ward game boards for people. Alright, so see, here's my small little branch hanging off the side. I can leave it like that perfectly, or I can give it one more quick wrap around and make it even shorter. See all the nice little, and I leave loops on the bottom. I undid this earlier to show you guys. I don't usually leave that much of my roots out. This might be harder to wrap in now because folded some stuff in here. And I'm not too worried about the bottom as right now, because we're going to end up basing it. I usually just like to get this somewhat where I can make it stand for myself, so I can check out my scale once I'm done it, because right now I'm finished forming my tree. This is how it's going to be. Or not forming it, my branches of my tree. So now I'm going to quickly try to form my, I want this more upright. So I'm just going to take my pliers here, my multi-purpose tool, give a nice good clamp. I can just push on it to make it more upright. Because what I'm doing here, if you give me a second, just want to slightly tweak this here and then go clamp any pokey wires I may have. And you can reform it into a tighter form once you're finished doing your, and as you can see I got some pokies here, so I'm going to come in, make sure I pinch them in as I'm trying to, it's going to want to move as, come on, my pliers just aren't catching it. Some of these little strays will want to move as you're moving the tree around, so I like to make sure I just re-clamp everything nicely, and anything that wants to try to move, I just clamp on it and then reform around. Alright. It's very important that you get these pokies clamped or cut. I've had some on other ones where I've literally cut it. And the reason I'm doing this like this, I need to turn off my heater really quick. And I will grab one of the trees from, my display for you guys. I'll show you as I've used these in the other videos. So what's going to end up happening, I'll cut these loops, is this tree is going to be looking more like this tree once we're done. Not as full as this birch, and these are done, and I like to go even cleaner. This is just all done with floral tape and wire. So I go out, I pay $10 to $15. I think this one was like $15. So at Michael's, and I think I got this one at another place for 12 bucks. So not much difference on the price. And I can make a hell of a lot more than that for floral tape. And for floral tape, wire, price, and even if with this crappy, you know, floral tape that I got, and I've been using some, what's it called, crazy glue, I can knock off easy probably 40 of these trees, easy 40, 50 of these trees. For less, half the price, quarter, yeah, less than half the price, over half the price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a half decent amount of floral tape. It's nice and waxy, and generally I say sticks to itself when you're wrapping it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give my base its first go, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop my first go under because this wax paper sucks. So I'm just going to give it, so I get something to stick to better. I'm going to twist it around my tree base, and then I will start. Oh, and you can see I must have got a sticky part right here, so I'm not going, or wire sticking out, because it's wanting to break through the tape already. And then just nice and tight pull on your tape as you go around your base. Be careful as you come to your wires, your small ones. So I just do a quick, I don't even go over this first wire starting off. Go around it. I'm strictly trying to get all the bottom wires covered. I will come afterwards and fix up anything that's not kosher. And this part here I might actually pause for a bit shortly, just because this can be a little time consuming. Oh no, I went too full. As you can see, I'm having a harder time trying to see because I'm in a darker environment trying to do a video here. Okay, so perfect. I'm coming around. As I'm coming around, I'm trying to wrap. Ow! Trying to wrap around my bases. I'm just trying to go all the way up, and when I come back down, I'm going to loop even more. And tighten this up even tighter. This was good sealing tape, and not this crappy stuff I'm using, and oops. I got one of my wires stuck in here, that's why it's not wanting to tighten up. So I'm just going to bend that for now so I can get around these. I can reshape them after. There we go, that's why I can get my tight form. I'm going to come in, I'm going to find my first loop. I'm going to come in amongst the knots here where it branches off and try to cover them up more cleanly. There's nothing worse, and that's what I don't like about these other trees, than seeing where the tape comes in and out. To me, that's just cheaply done. If you want to do them, take the time. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Pull on through. I'm going to just push these wires all the way. I'm going to start working my way up the next branch. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you get your form right away, because you're going to be moving all these wires out of the way to try to. Okay, so as I come around, I'm going to come in the branch, re-loop to just try to seal tighter with this tape at least, and then come back in to my top. And I'll come one more time afterwards once I get everything with one more up on the trunk up to seal it in nice and clean. Well, I like to do it this way first, and that way you get all your dirty stuff hid, and then when you come in with the vinyl coat, like on the product trees, you don't see as much of those gaps. It's much cleaner as you come up, and then that's where you can come out and afterwards start forming. And with the brown, this would look really sharp right now, even right now with just a brown. So, but with the green floral tape, it's not as nice. But I couldn't find any brown at the dollar store, and I got this crap right here, and it does not seal as nice. Because usually it will just adhere to itself. So I've got a bunch more to go. I'm not going to bore you talking as I'm doing this, so I'll just stop the video and come back once we're done. Alright, so we're back here with the tree completely wrapped up. Unfortunately, this gauge of wire was too small that I couldn't get my branches here, my thinner ones, all wrapped up, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that. Next stage is some people like to paint their trees right away. I do not like that one bit. So hot glue gun. So tree. I just take some polyfoam. I don't take anything too special. I might want to break some of this off right here because it popped up. All I did is I took some of this foam right here on a smoother side, on the smooth side. I took my X-Acto knife and I just did a thin slice, if you go half an inch to an inch. That way I can sit my tree, if I can get my phone here, I'm sitting a bit better. I got my base right here, got my tree and my glue gun, and I just make a pile of glue and it'll settle on its own, so don't worry about any globs. And then I just take my tree here and I place it on it, and then I go over lightly on a few areas that didn't take, and be careful because this is going to melt through with the thickness I did. I should have went a little bit thicker than this one. I should have probably went closer to this thickness right here, and I could have whittled down like I'm going to do on this one. But I'm just going to hold the tree in here and blow. More so on the bottom because my trees usually don't melt through. I go a bit thicker. This is about 3 to 4 millimeters. I usually go half an inch. Okay, that seems to be taking. I'm not going to worry about anything overhanging right now because I do have an overhang. We'll take care of that in a moment. So I'm trying to come up and catch a plate in the back too, so crappy. So what I'm going to do, and this is perfect timing, is I just got some brown paint here. I mixed a little bit of black and a little bit of yellow in here to kind of blacken the cinnamon up, because that's all I could find over brown umber, and I put a little bit of yellow umber in here. So I'm going to take my tree, go upside down. I'm going to start, well, first I'm going to grab any of the stray strands from the base. I'm going to start going mid-base down and tapping up and underneath my metallic branches. I'm going to go give each one in. Everything gets an undercoating. I give it a nice generous, because I want to get into some of the painted areas, or the painted areas, crevice areas of where the branches break. And I find if you start on the outside instead of the inside, or bottom part instead of the upper side, it just makes it much easier to get the underbelly without touching the paint afterwards. So I can get all my branches here. And I don't mind when with this, from doing my other trees, with this green tape underneath, if it starts drying and absorbing for waxiness, it actually does absorb the paint, or at least repels the paint. I wasn't sure if you call it absorbs, repel some of the paint away if you don't give it a nice generous coat, and it actually doesn't look too bad underneath. So I gave the underneath a good generous coat. Now I'm going to go back and do the same on the top. I'm going to still touch on those crevices down the bottom to try to get even more on there. Oh, I forgot this side when I was doing it, bottom. So I'm coming on the inside. Because what the green does, I found underneath when I was doing it, it does repel In some areas it dries thinner in area. It kind of gives a mossy little look to it. So it actually kind of looks cool and naturey. So it wasn't something I was expecting. So I'm going to come up my branches that are nice and thin, because I want to get those painted too, because I don't want green branches on brown branches. That just isn't realistic whatsoever. I'm trying to get into some dips here, and I'm painting with no light basically, so it's harder to see areas I might have missed. And try getting to any ridges where your branches are, you know, that might not. See if I can still see some tips where I cut off, but for the most part, so on those tips, I'm just going to take my paintbrush. Oh, I see some areas. So it's starting to repel a bit. So I'll just cover that up at the same time as I do my tips here. I'm going to even make sure I get the tips on the wires, within the wires. I'll see how I can actually, where am I on? Oh, maybe that's just shadow. As I turn that dip in and look, I thought I missed some area, but that's just where I couldn't get the tape totally smooth. So once I get that part done, I'm going to hold the corner of my base, and I'm just going to do a tree trunk down here. I'm going to take the clippers and try not knock my hot glue gun onto my freaking lamp again. I'm just going to snip. If I can get them on a smooth side. That little edge off, so now it's smooth and flat. And I got a bit of this edge right here we'll take care of, because I am going to want to smoothen this down and around a bit. Part of my finger cut the tree base, which isn't really going to matter because I can go back over anyways. So I am going to want to do the top of my base and the sides. And usually I whittle down on the sides here and make a smoother kind of drop down base, but with the thickness I did it with, I really don't need to do that with this one, thankfully, in a good way, horribly in a bad. So I'm just going to place my base on here and put my finger on top of a branch I don't have to worry about, so I can finish this base so I can let it sit and dry. I'm not too worried about getting paint where some of the glue melted down into, because I will be flocking this twice after I get this painted. I will be going back over with some glue and getting some flocking stuff down. And because I cut the styrofoam too short, I do got a little warping on here, but it will more than sustain the tree. I just need to get a part of the area where I touched off. So here's our tree base, and usually I like to go thinner because the root part of the glue and where the tree branches off of will, and I'll come back over here. I see a few green areas repelling, and if I don't like it, I'll come back over, but we'll be back when this is dry and we will touch up and block once it's ready to go. So, alright, we have come back. I have done some pre-block while I was laying this paint dry. So, and this will end up warping on me, so I'll end up probably taking, because I cut it too small, so I end up probably taking some toothpicks or and then doing a straight across. But till then, I'm going to see how we have some exposed areas here. We're going to cover that crap up. So I'm just going to take my glue and carefully watch out for anything I don't want coming off. Don't worry if anything does. So your duck valve. I just want a little bit around here to drop into those little grooves. And then I'm going to take some coarse foliage. I'm going to sprinkle some on here, some around here. I want something a bit finer. I'm just going to take my fingers, tap off any excess I don't want. Quickly anything I do want. And voila! We have our tree pretty much on the go. Clean off the bottom sides around here. And this is our base. I am more than likely going to let it just rest like that, and once we're done, voila! Let's try to get my arm in the way of the light, which I need it. And that's our tree. Now if you're using the brown, I could probably actually gave another coat or two around here. Oh well, that'll do. The crappy tape I used pulled apart a bit, I guess, when the paint went over it. But yeah, there we go.